Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Podcast with your host, Jeff Lopes. Jeff has over 2 decades experience as a serial entrepreneur, building brands like Kimura from his home basement to a multi-million-dollar global brand that has sold over 250,000 pairs of boxing gloves. Jeff's here to educate, guide, and drive you on the process of bringing your ideas and dreams to reality with the inspiring stories from some of the top business minds.
Welcome to episode 141 of the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on today Adam Schaeuble. Adam is the host of Low Carb Hustle and Podcasting Business School. Great conversation, tons of fun, tons of value. Sit back, everyone, and enjoy. We're live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Don't make me start laughing at him. I'm here with Adam Schaeuble. What is up, brother?
Jeff Lopes, I am a fan of what you're doing. I'm very excited to be here. I'm ready to cast a little pod here with you, bud.
I love it. So let's start off. Where'd you grow up? How many siblings you had? Let's just start off, Adam, as a child, and let I'm going to be your doc today, and we're going to let all the drama come out of here. Where'd you grow
up? Born and raised Bloomington, Indiana. Still here. From the spot that I sit right now, like 5 miles down the road, that's where I was born, Bloomington Hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. So born and raised here. And really, like, people ask, like, Bloomington, I describe it as like the Honolulu, Hawaii of Indiana. It's really exotic. No, I'm just kidding. It's pretty boring. But I've got 2 sisters, one half sister, one younger sister that is awesome. So yeah, it's a good old Midwestern boy. I got the Viking blood in me. We're all tall. My younger sister's 6'3", my dad's 6'7". I'm about 6'4". And
so you're a big boy, 6'4". I'm 6'2". So that's you're a big boy, man.
Large individuals. Yes. We grew up with the Rattenborg Danish blood in us from my grandma. Shout out to Grandma Dolores. She had 10 kids, all of them over 6 foot tall. Boom.
You know what's crazy? That is actually my great grandma on my mom's side in Portugal had 11 kids, 10 boys, 1 girl. All 10 boys were over 6'2". And that's like literally back then it's make a pot of soup and everybody fend for themselves and everybody just eats. Think about that. I mean, that's humble beginnings. 11 kids trying to feed that. Yeah, it's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Let's start off high school. Did you play any sports like that? I just want to get to know you.
Yeah. So
you're obviously a big boy. So I'm assuming you pushed towards sports, or that didn't happen.
Oh yeah. So I mentioned, we spoke a few times. I told you I've kind of lived like a Forrest Gump life of a lot of weird pivots. Okay. So like my early stages in life, I was really like known as the super athletic kid that could just jump out of the gym. Basketball is my thing. Okay. Obviously here in Indiana, and I've had freakish athletic ability my whole life. My dad saw that. Like, he played basketball growing up too, and he's from Iowa, but like they noticed like this kid's got some athleticism. I had one of those like Nerf basketball hoops, and like I would watch the slam dunk contest and see like Dominique versus MJ, like the heyday of slam dunk. I'm doing all the things, and my dad's like, this kid can jump pretty good. So he goes to the library. I don't know where the hell he went, but he found this like calf workout. He's like, oh, you do this, you do that. And then so this is my initial exposure to goal setting and goal achieving. He goes, all right, you want to be able to dunk one day? I'm like, yeah, I want to be able to dunk. You want to do the dunk contest? Yeah. So he hung a string from the ceiling, and he goes, out every day, I want you to jump up and touch it 10 times with your right hand, 10 times with your left hand, and then do your calf workout. And once you can do 10 and 10, we cut an inch off the string. So I started doing this in like 3rd grade. And by the time I'm in 6th grade, I could jump up and grab the rim on a 10-foot goal. 6th grade.
Wow.
First dunk in a game, 8th grade. And like I entered they used to have a 3-on-3 tournament called the Gus Macker.
Yeah.
And I entered the Gus Macker dunk contest when I was in 8th grade. and I beat James Posey, who played for Xavier, who played for like the Boston Celtics and Charlotte. Like he played in the league for like 10 years. Yeah. I'm a little 8th grade white kid that's like doing any 360 windmills, whatever I want, like that. And that's I dunked. I did the slam dunk contest in high school at where the Indianapolis Colts play. So I'm in this giant like 80,000 seat stadium or whatever, and just all kinds of cool stuff came out of that. I was a all conference player my senior year in basketball and all that. And I'd always thought that that's where I was going to go in high school. But the thing that sucked is I was the 6'2" super athletic center on my high school team. And, colleges don't want a 6'2" center. I'm guarding Zach Randolph. Like I'm sure a lot of people know, Zebo that played, in the league. He just retired last year. Jared Jeffries, Lamar Odom,
big names.
World Peace, Meta World Peace, whatever his name. Like I'm playing against all these guys. I'm the little 6'2" white guy that can jump out of the gym trying to guard these guys. Like I had a nasty dunk on Zach Randolph when he was a freshman. I was a couple years older than him, and he's just standing underneath the rim. I caught one off and I just plowed it on his head. And after the game, he's like, "Man, that's the first time I've been dunked on by a little white guy." I said, "Don't worry, you're going to make a lot of money in the NBA one day. and like you're going to be okay." But yeah, that's kind of the sports saga growing up.
So that didn't translate into college ball?
Nope. So the next era of my life started actually my senior year of high school, where I'm still, we're number one ranked team in the state, number 7, top 10 in the country. But I wasn't getting a lot of scholarship looks. But that year where our team was so good, we hired a strength coach for the first time. I fell in love with strength and strength coaching. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to go to school for. I'm burnt out on basketball. I don't want to play D3. I want to get strong, and I want to start competing in strength sports. So I'm 6'2" at that time. I graduated high school. I'm like 185.
Yeah.
And I'm like 6'2", 6'3", 185.
That's what I am now.
Yeah.
Barely 190.
So I get hooked up with this strength coach, and I get strong as hell quick. And he's like, "We got to do a deadlift competition." Like he took me to a powerlifting meet, but it's just deadlift only. I deadlift like 365 or something like that. But I was hooked because they had big ass trophies. And I was like, "Oh, this is cool, man." It's like an 18-year-old's dream. You get big trophies, you get to lift heavy weights, you get to be around older guys. They sneak you into the bar afterwards. It's all good.
Yeah.
So in college, I competed in powerlifting every year. I was on the Indiana University powerlifting club. There were like 3 of us, but every year I put on 20 to 25 pounds body weight because I was always competing against guys that were like 5'5".
Yeah.
So I would go to nationals at 198 pounds. I placed second, but I would compete against somebody that's 5'5" and could bench press 400 pounds, squat 600 pounds. I'm like, I can't compete with these guys.
Yeah.
So I got to gain weight, gain weight. And then I developed what I now realize as like an eating disorder where I couldn't stop eating. By my senior year, I was almost 300 pounds. 2 years after I graduated high school, I got to 327 pounds.
Wow.
And like, I just became this bottomless pit, and I would kind of self-justify with like, I'm training hard. I'm really strong. At that point, I was also competing in Highland Games, throwing the caber. I was nationally ranked amateur Highland Games athlete and all this stuff, but super unhealthy, like body mass wise. So, but it was fun. Like I loved being strong. I've always.
So you're a big fan of the strongman competition, World Strong. Yeah, I'm a huge guy. I love that stuff too.
Like anybody named Magnus, I'm down with, like.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Yeah. I used to, even growing up, I used to always watch it with my dad. It was that. And it was funny because I was talking to somebody this morning. It was that in Tour de France for some reason. My dad was obsessed with powerlifting and Tour de France. They don't even mix. I guess maybe the steroid aspect, but they don't besides that, they don't really mix. Right. But Highland Games. And I went very much the same path, a little different path where when I was 16 I was 16 years old, 15, 16, that summer, I spurted and I got 6'2" and I was 135. and I was skinny as fuck. And I just obsessed with putting on weight and training. And I joined the local gym, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had the Arnold Schwarzenegger encyclopedia I bought, and I would just go in there, and I still have it like this thick.
Yeah.
And I would just lift and lift and lift and lift and lift and lift and develop. And then eventually when I was 18, 19, I have some pictures I'll send to you. I ended up doing a few bodybuilding competitions and all that stuff. And I realized how unhealthy that was. And by like 21, I was like, I'm done with this world. Yeah. And so but since then I've never, ever shied away from weight training or working out. I mean, that's still a huge part of me and is part of my kids, my family. But yeah, that's crazy. So back to your story, 3-something, you had you're eating yourself to death one way or another. What triggered it? What switched that around?
So it was,
you saw the documentary on McDonald's?
I did see, Super Size Me eventually, but this was before that even. I for like the last 20 years, there's been this weird health thing that happens to me. And it happened as much as like 3 months ago. It happened again, where I pass out. I black out. They know it's a heart related issue, but they didn't know what was causing it. I would pass out, black out, hit my head, whatever. And then I would go to the hospital and they would go, "Oh, you're the healthiest person we've ever had." Like nothing's wrong. So the first time this happened to me was I was 22. I just got back from powerlifting nationals. I was about 275 at that point.
Yeah.
And blacked out, hit my head on the bathroom sink, got to go to the hospital. That was the first time it happened. I'm about 22. So that was, I knew something wasn't right. That kind of scared me. And then a couple of years later, I am doing Highland Games out at Estes Park, Colorado. It's at elevation. And I'm just like, I can barely breathe. The elevation just crushed me. Walking up a few steps, I'm like, "Ugh, this sucks." And that was the last Highland Games I ever did, man. I actually left all of my equipment there just because I got committed. I'm like, there's 2 routes I can go in this sport. I either need to push to weigh close to 400 pounds and get as strong as humanly possible, and I can turn pro, or I need to get healthy. And I was dating a woman that I was very serious with that eventually became my wife. And I was like, I'm making a choice here. I'm thinking the long game. Yeah. So I left all of my Highland Games equipment there in the hotel, and that was the last time I competed. I made a commitment to start getting healthy. And, over the next 5 years, I lost 100 pounds. And that's where the next leg of my life started, where at that time I was strength coaching, and I was living the dream that I went to college to do. I'm working with athletes, I'm plugged in with my high school sports locally. I'm coaching all those, but then I kind of fell out of love with that as well, where I would design these amazing, like Russian block periodized squat performance programs, and all the bros on the football team, all these 15-year-old guys, they just want to do biceps curls in the corner with their cutoff sleeve shirts. I'm like, I spent 4 hours developing, like I would periodize and run numbers for every single player. And there's like 80 players every week. And it was just like hours and hours of time, and they go do biceps curls. So I fell out of love with that. So perfect storm happens. I start losing weight. People start asking me, "Man, you're looking a lot better. What are you doing? Can you help me?" So I started helping other people. And then I really fell in love with that. I was like, wow, this is something. So that was 2009-ish when Boot Camp Fitness is just starting.
Yeah.
Just starting, Jeff.
Yeah.
So I started a little boot camp where I load up my Ford Explorer with kettlebells, punching bags, all of the shit. I get like 2 miles per gallon of gas because I've got it so loaded down. I'm renting space from a martial arts studio, a Pilates studio, and a yoga studio. And this is before like the mind body software that everybody uses for scheduling. Yeah. I'm calling everybody. I still have some of the spreadsheets. "You coming tonight?" Write their name down in pencil, and then they show up. I'm checking them off and I'm charging their account. Yeah. It would take me an hour to unload all the crap out of my car, an hour to do the session, an hour to load it all. Because a lot of times I'm going up and down flights of stairs, across like parking lots that are iced over, pushing Wave Master punching bags. But we started to crush it. I had about 15 people in my first boot camp. They lost over 300 pounds in 8 weeks. And I was like, and then they started going, when's the next one? And the real trick to my boot camp was I gave them nutrition, I gave them the fitness, but they had to report into me every single day, or I chased them down on their food every day. And I'd come chase them down. So that really worked. Accountability. I think I could have told them to do anything as long as they held them accountable, they're going to get results. That was the issue for everybody. That's the issue for most people in the weight loss game. So I did another one, had 50 people show up. Then I rented a space that was a space of our own by boot camp, I think 4. And I started running these every 8 weeks with 100 people, $500 a pop every 8 weeks, crushing it. And then we moved up to like an 8,000 square foot facility. And like, we've got a ton of people moving through, and we did 35,000 pounds of weight loss in 5 years. As I lost my 100 pounds, we did 35,000 pounds in the community locally. I had 15 other people lose 100 pounds. Like, we wallpapered our studio with transformation, and you can get on the wall without a 30-pound weight loss picture.
I love what you're saying. I got to jump in there because I've had gyms. We've been through this. My first real business from 19 to 24 was a consulting fitness business where I had 6 personal trainers doing in-home training and the whole 9 yards. And I love how you keep mentioning, you're not mentioning the amount of money you made. You keep mentioning the pounds lost. That's cool. I just want to mention that. I noticed that and I love that. So continue your story. Little props on that. That's good, man. I mean, most guys would be like, "Oh, I make $500 and this is how much money I was making." No, you're like, you keep mentioning how much results, which is so important, right?
Well, that in the fitness game, that's how it used to be. I don't feel like it's that way anymore. I'll finish the story and I'll tell you how the gym ended. Yeah. But at that time, there are like 5 competitors in town, and that's like Jazzercise, YMCA, one other boot camp place, and like a hardcore gym that I kind of grew up in, and no boot camp option. Yeah. Within the next decade, you look at 50 plus group fit boot camp options in this town. And it's a total different ball game, where back then I could post a before and after picture, 100-pound weight loss person on Facebook. The Facebook algorithm shows it to everybody. Like, everybody sees it. I'll have 50 people show up from the next boot camp off that one transformation series. Now 6% maybe see it off a Facebook post.
If you're lucky.
It's a marketing game. I didn't have the marketing dollars, and Orange Theory and Farrell's Gym and 24-hour fitness. They all come in with the marketing game plan and bucks. That like, just programs like ours, the homegrown stuff started to fade out. So I sold at the end of 2019, pre-pandemic, which was a great decision. Yeah. But that chapter of my life led to my podcasting career, because you mentioned the pound thing. And the funny thing about the pounds is that our first home location, our first home base that I wasn't going around all over town, was directly across the street from a McDonald's. So they had the sign that's like 1 billion served. And that's where I got the idea. We're going to start tracking how many pounds are lost. Because I would have people come in every single Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'd weigh them in. I did it. And I added, if you gained weight, it went into the total. If you lost weight, it came off, it went to the positive direction. And we started posting on our sign right across from McDonald's how many pounds lost. So every 1,000, we would update it. We're battling back and forth. But that led to my first podcast, which was called the $1 Million Pound Mission, where same concept of I'm going to teach you things about getting healthy. I want you to implement. Then you go to our website and you enter in your weight loss, and it would cumulatively add up the weight loss by the podcast listeners. And cool as hell. People really loved it. And that's what really got my appetite wet with podcasting.
I love it. I love it. How long do you have? You don't still run that podcast, do you?
I went 375 episodes, and
was it guest run or just by yourself talking?
Both. I would do both. So I'd have guests on, and I would do solo shows, and I would do coaching style episodes. And we did that. Got rebranded at the beginning of 2021. We pivoted down into the low carb space, and I brought on a couple co-hosts, and we do Low Carb Hustle now with delicious Danny Vega and ravishing Robert Sykes, my 2 co-hosts.
And give me our audience a rundown of what that podcast is all about.
So Low Carb Hustle.
I'll say the name gives it a bit of a.
Yeah, it's a low carb space. We talk about getting lean, getting strong, getting paid. So we obviously talk about ketogenic diet, getting, strength training techniques, the whole thing. but we also cater to professionals in the space. We'll do like professional deep dives, have low carb coaches, people that build courses, people that have gyms. We'll bring them on and do business breakdown with them and go, okay, here's where I would change your business marketing strategy or whatever. And we do some services for business professionals inside the low carbon keto space as well. So we try to niche it down a little bit, but man, it's a lot of fun. It's fun having co-hosts. I've never done that before. And Danny and Robert are two of my best friends in the entire world. And we're very different. It's very eclectic. And it's a hell of a lot of fun, man. So it's
if you kick with somebody, it's always there's always that vibe, right? That energy you can't. It's infectious, right? And the audience feels it as well. How many children do you have?
Got 2.
How old?
I've got 10-year-old son Henry and a 6-year-old daughter Hannah.
What's with the 2 H's?
We started with Henry as an H. I'm a big Henry Rollins fan, big time.
Okay,
I love Rollins, and I convinced my wife. Like, I've got Henry Rollins tattooed on my shoulder, like from
seriously
from his Rollins in the Rye CD. I took the cover, and so that was my first.
Is it? I mean, so it's the cover shot, or is it an actual face?
It's the cover shot. So
you see,
we got it's buried in the other stuff, but you can kind of see it in there.
That's
from the cover.
Yeah.
So. Big Henry Rollins fan. Like, I love him as a writer, probably more than as a musician.
I think he's more talented as a writer.
Have you ever? I'm sure you have. The Iron, his like manifesto about lifting weights. It's the best. Like, if you're somebody that's new to lifting weights, look up Henry Rollins, The Iron, and just read it. And the whole like Mr. Peppermint story. Like, I saw him tell it live. Unreal, man. Like wearing a sweatshirt until Mr. Peppermint told him he would knock him down every day. Right. Once he took the shot, you can go look at yourself. And he had his like sand weights that he's working out with. It's unbelievable. Anyway, that's where Henry came from. And Henry Michael Schaeuble. My dad's name's Michael. My middle name's Michael. And we stuck with the HMS for Hannah as well. And that was I got to kind of steer Henry.
How old's your daughter?
She's 6.
6, still youngie.
Yep, first grade and 5th grade. But yeah, they're also giant. Like, they're both the tallest kids in their class. My son's 5'3". He's a 5th grader
already.
Yeah, and he's into lifting. Like, he's down here with me.
That's my kid.
He deadlifted 135 the other day, and he did that in 4th grade actually. And like, you can do pull-ups and
that's my son.
Things.
Both my kids are like that. They're fitness fanatics. I get home and my kids are fighting over who could get on the treadmill. They're doing wind sprints on the treadmill. They're powerlifting. I know people like frown on me for my kid powerlift. My kid's like grabbing 25-pound dumbbells and he's freaking 98 pounds and just jacking it for 12, 15 reps. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. And I feel like
as long as you keep the form and you watch what you're doing over them. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, think about that investment. Like, I'm big on playing the long game with finances, but also with health. And I was like, all right, my kids are in 1st grade and 5th grade. Henry started training in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can invest for almost 20 damn years into this kid on his health base. I wish I started deadlifting when I was in 4th grade. I wish I could do a bodyweight pull-up. I was just sitting on my butt drinking Diet Cokes and watching slam dunk contests. Like that. Like, it's such an advantage. And just the way that nutritionally what we put in front of them,
100%,
all the whole foods and like eating meat and vegetables and fruit and taking their fish oil every day. I sneak I sneak liver tablets in their soup. I'll break them up and stir it in
my kids take omegas, vitamin D and vitamin C every single day.
Yeah.
And we actually mix in probiotics in their food as well. And they're just you're building these blocks right now. So when they churn, and people don't realize it with their kids, Adam, is they're feeding their kids all this junk. And when they turn 18, 19, 20, 21, it's all going to catch up.
Yeah.
You're building these blocks now, and you're building these, you're almost engraving these habits. So when they get older, it'll be part of their DNA. It'll be part of what they are all about. They're going to love fitness. They're going to love weight. I started later. I started when I was 16, but I've never stopped. I'm 44. I might go a week or two sometimes when shit happens in life, but I always, that's my go-to to get back into working out. And now my he's 13 now. My 13-year-old son's my training partner. We work out 5 days a week together. We
That's
lift
awesome.
weights. We lift weights together. He gets home and he's waiting for me. He's like, Dad, I already did my sprints on my treadmill. When are we going to do weights? As soon as I get home, he's waiting for me to do his weight training with him. So it becomes part of their DNA. I think it's so, so important. What does fatherhood mean to you?
Well, I'm in an interesting point in my life right now because I've done well business wise. I'm not like super stressed about money at this point. So right now, fatherhood is like the focus. I'm like, all right, how do we set up the kids to really succeed?
Yeah.
Like, how do we make sure they're very healthy? How do we make sure they're good people? How do we get them ahead financially? Like, I've got everything mapped out. I nerd out over this stuff.
So do I.
So I'm like, all right, how can they start earning college credits at community college while they're in high school? Like, I nerd out on dual enrollment. I know more about this type of shit than anyone ever should. So, and he's in 4th grade. Like, I've got their 529K accounts already saved up and chock full. I'm like, okay, we're good there. Paying for college won't be an issue.
Yeah, that's same as us. Yeah.
All this stuff. So it's all about, like reading the Daily Stoic with my son and discussing like, okay, what does this mean? Like, what does this mean to you? Here's what I think.
Yeah.
Just planting those seeds and giving them a decade of all this like good human stuff.
Yeah. That's
my focus to me, and leaving that legacy of like, all right, like I grew up with great parents. My parents are awesome. But, I had my older sister, my half sister, she took a lot of attention. She's severely bipolar, a lot of problems, a lot of issues, and that took a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So like, I'm amazed at how great my parents were with me and my younger sister with all that going on.
Yeah.
So they kind of set the standard, and I'm like, man, I've got it easy. I've got 2 amazing kids.
Yeah.
I've got an amazing wife. Let's really like work with them. And they don't always like it when I'm like, all right, time to go down and work out. And they're on their iPad and they're kind of in that groove. But then we get them going like, oh, this is awesome. Like they're all
you're building the habits right now. Like I said, mine's are now, my kids have been training probably for about my son from day one. When he got back from the hospital, we started really doing therapy and training with him, but he really got into doing it on his own when he was about 6. He's 13. So we're looking at 7 years. My daughter, even before, like my daughter is a 15-year-old that could do 50 full push-ups like nothing. She could do like 15 chin-ups. She's a shredded beast. Beast.
Awesome.
And they just love it. And on the weekends, like we wake up and my daughter's like, hey, we're gonna go for a power hike every night. So Dad, let's go for a power walk. Like she's the one at like 8 at night. Let's go for a power walk. Like they're pushing it, which is, we've built these habits. And everything I've done with my children is I built them to understand how to be independent. And I started this from such a young age. Both my kids, Adam, they both clean, cook, laundry. We get home and I'm not even lying. Our kids have dinner ready. My son's either barbecuing or my kids are pure independent. They come home and they have dinner ready. My daughter has the laundry ready. The house is clean. We get home, the house is spotless. She's wiping down counters and it's become part of their DNA. And I've told them this from day one. Everything we're teaching you now is going to make life so much easier later on. And they've really understood that. We teach them about money. We teach them how to save money. They both have their own accounts, and they know when they get money from grandma or we separate them, grandma or vavol, the 2 grandparents. And it's like, they know that automatically, okay, let's put our money in our account. Let's see how much money we have in our account. Okay. If my daughter wants something, I say, okay, how much money do you have in your account? Let's go buy, she wants to buy something online. Okay, let's go to the store and let's buy a prepaid Visa. And I make her have that. And to be honest, 99% of the time, me and my wife put the money right back in there. But we want to teach them how to spend their own money, how to value money, how to appreciate money, all these things like that. Right. So yeah, man, just everything you're doing is amazing, man. And if more parents did what we are doing, I mean, we'd have a lot more independent leaders in this world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the smartest moves that my parents ever made with me, I had to buy my first car.
So did I. 16.
I had so many friends.
What was your first car? What age?
When I was 16, I had a 1987 Ford Lariat, ugly as hell, like big. It had a big tan camper on the back. Had the best feature, had 2 gas tanks.
You're gonna be so jealous.
I could run out of gas and flip a switch, and it goes to the next one. That was the real highlight.
When I was 16, I took my dad's car. It was a Ford Topaz standard, got my license. Back then you do your 365. It was a written exam. I went 2 days later with my dad's car, got my license. And I had worked for 2 summers and I had enough money saved up. And the first car I bought, you're going to be jealous, an 86 T-top IROC white. Like Gino Mobile to the max. Gino Mobile to the max. That was my first car. And then literally 2 months later, I bought a 79 Camaro because I wanted a drag race. I was obsessed with drag racing. That car sat in my parents' garage because my mom was so scared of me racing that she did everything for me not to touch that car. And that car sat in my parents' garage. And then eventually when I got married, I was like, I'm going to sell it. My mom's like, no, just leave it here. It's not taking any space. About 7 years ago, I took and I did a full restore. And now it's my summer little getaway car. I'll send you a pic. Nice. Fully restored 79 Camaro. But yeah, that was I within a month, I had 2 Camaros. They were obviously nothing expensive. I think the IROC cost me like $2,200 or whatever it was back then. But yeah, that was but it's independence, right?
You're rolling like Magnum PI, man.
I'll send you some pictures. Yeah, you're gonna laugh your head off when you see them. I had the long hair, the friggin' long hair, the IROC, white IROC, Gino Mobile's cassette player.
Yes, dude, that's amazing. But yeah, like I bought my own. That was a huge investment for a kid, huge man at our age, and we take care of that. Like I made my son. My son bought his own iPad. He wanted an iPad. I said, all right, we're gonna save up for it. He bought his own iPad. He like treasures that thing. He takes such good care of it. Yeah. And he took him like a year to save up, and he's cleaning our floorboards and, going to our neighbors and like pulling weeds and stuff. But he had a goal. It was just like me when my dad hung that string from the ceiling and we cut off a little bit. Like it was goal setting, goal achieving, putting in work and seeing results. And if we can teach our kids to do that, that's something that's going to benefit them, like you said, for the rest of life. Yeah.
So from low carb, where did all the other ventures of podcasting come into play? And you've obviously taken the educational side of it, and you've quickly, obviously, jumped on the opportunity because the podcast world seemed, when the pandemic hit, everybody wanted to be a podcaster. When I started my podcast, Adam, and I'm very perfectionist. When I start something, I do it to the friggin' max, or I don't do it. It's like fucking 120% or fuck off. And I started and I took off, and it's like within a week I had, oh my God, I probably had about 15, 20 guys, business guys, people I know. They're all like, okay, help me start a podcast. I'm like looking like, there's no way. And they're like, and I tell them right off the bat, I go, you're not going to be consistent with it. And they're like, well, you're not going to be consistent with it. And I'm like, well, we're into 144 episodes. I've been a guest on like 90 something episodes. And those people I actually helped, I have no issue helping. I helped them all. Only one, I think it was at 18, only one has actually kept his podcast going. And he's slowing it down, but he's kept it going. The others are all gone. So what triggered you to really pursue that direction with the podcasting?
Well, similar vein, where when I was in the health space, this is actually before I transitioned to the low carb space. I was doing $1 Million Mission. I'm probably a couple of years into that, a couple hundred episodes. And I would get a lot of people asking me, same thing. How do I start a podcast? What's it all about? Yeah. And I'm a coach at heart. I love learning something and then dispensing what I know to others. Yeah. So I started the second show, which is now known as Podcasting Business School. I did a little rebrand there after I launched it. But that was really bringing people along my journey and going, all right, here's what I'm experimenting with. Here's what's working. And here's what didn't work. And I would always kind of do these experiments, report back, bring on experts on that are doing really well with show growth, monetization, launching, marketing, all the stuff. Yeah. Then as I started to get deeper into that, I was like, man, like I kind of know my shit. And like, this is really going well. So I started teaching more from an expert position of like, okay, here's what I need to do. And I start pulling audience members up and going what I call podcast audit sessions where we go, okay, here's what you're struggling with. We're going to level up your downloads. We're going to level up your audience engagement. We're going to level up your monetization potential. And I'd start doing coaching episodes. And then I still have experts on, like you recently came on and tore it up. And like, so it's become this whole other thing. It's leveled up and now it's its own brand. And honestly, like that's the center of my business ecosystem right now is that show, Podcasting Business School, more opportunities, more growth, more relationships, more connections are just spurring out of all that stuff. It's just spawning out of it. It's incredible. And then I launched my third show with Podcasting Business School. I want to talk to podcasters that have already launched.
Yeah.
And I started a third show to serve people that are what I call podcrastinators. So they want to launch a show, but they haven't launched yet. So I started, let's talk about your podcast. And I bring people on that have been podcrastinating, that think like, I got this great show idea, but I just don't know. And I take them through and we do a full on launch strategy session. And I put that out as content and people freaking love it. So we're helping people launch with that show. We're helping people grow with Podcasting Business School. And I'm still.
So where do you find these individuals that are, because most people would be kind of shy to come on. Where do you find them? They're not, are they?
No, man. Like people,
I guess they're in their mind, they're getting advice, right? So
yeah, they're getting free advice and they see it as an opportunity to promote the potential show and their brand because I release all these as episodes. So they come on and it's not like self-help space where people are like, I don't want people to know my name.
Yeah.
These are all marketers and they want everybody to know their name. They want everybody to know their brand, their book that they're selling, their ideas for things. And I love the way I do the podcast audits and the podcast launch strategy sessions with audience members, because a lot of times that'll be the first time they've ever been interviewed on a show. I love being that nice
pop cherry,
gentle person. Yeah. That pops their cherry. They're no longer a podcasting virgin, but a safe space. And I can go, okay. I know this is your first time. This is what it's going to be like. And I would give them some feedback afterwards. Like you said, 5,000 times. Let's try to not do that next time because it's going to be heavy on editing or whatever. Or just, this, or that they tell a really good story about their background. I'm like you should lead with that every time you do an interview. Yeah. That's where you should start because it's really like for whatever reason. So I love mentorship like that. And it leads to a lot of business, a lot of great relationship. Like I help people launch shows and, a lot of the people that I bring on to do a launch strategy session, like, okay, so can you help me? I'm like, yeah, here's the information on that. But I'm not a salesman. I'm not a salesy person. I'm just a connector of the dots.
Yeah, exactly. Organically, people see the value there, which is smart on your part. Yeah. Very smart. So where do you see that brand growing to? Like I'm aware of different little ventures you're doing because I spoke to a couple of people. So, but where do you see that brand going over the next, say, 2-3 years?
Well, Podcasting Business School, now I'm looking to
why did you rebrand it? Is that just a curiosity thing?
Just learning the game of podcasting, like the name of your show. When you talk search engine optimization, the name of your show is important when people are trying. The name of your show, the description of your show, and the title of each episode are very important for SEO keywords. Yeah. If you're trying to max that out. So the original title of the show, and a lot of podcasters do this, they get creative, they get cute. So the original title of the show was Casting the Pod. And it's a play on words, but SEO, nothing. Yeah. And if people don't catch it as they're scrolling through Apple Podcasts, then I never get them. Yeah. Podcasting Business School attracts the exact right person for me. If they are interested in podcasting and the business surrounding a podcast or creating a business out of a podcast, that's the right fishing lure to put into the pond. Casting the Pod, I thought it was cute. No one else got it, and it sucked. So once I switched, I rebranded the names. I doubled my downloads within 2 weeks just because of SEO. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah. But that brand, I'm growing. I've got membership that's growing out of that. My goal is to get as many podcasters as possible into the top 20% of podcaster download numbers, which a lot of people don't realize. I think I shared this with you earlier.
Yeah. We talked about that.
If your episode does 1,000 downloads at 30 days after being released, you're in the top 20% of every single show. And I'm like, I can get people to that. The 1,000 download per episode, it's very achievable, but 80% of podcasters never, ever get there. Yeah. And I'm sure you've seen the information out there about your 1,000 true fans. So that vibes very well with, I'm not coaching the rich and famous podcast people, the people that are crushing. All right. I'm like, you got this. You don't need me. Yeah. The person that has a message that's burning inside of them at an annoying level and they're hearing crickets. They're like, my mom listens, my dog listens, and I'm subscribed on 2 iPads. And those are my 4 downloads per episode. Like if those people are out there, but they know what they have to say is impactful and important. I love getting hold of those people and going, all right, here's how we rebrand. Here's how we attract the right people. Here's how we grow it. And you're having the ideal people that you would love to impact listening in. And I tell people to envision, you open up that microphone and there's a stadium full of 1,000 people every single time you open that up. What's that like? And like we get them dreaming that dream, and all of a sudden it becomes a reality, and they're having fun. They're monetizing and doing all kinds of cool stuff, but the impact, like that's the real payoff in podcasting in general. You get that email from somebody who you changed their life, or that DM on Instagram, and they're like, wow, this episode, like it just totally shifted the way that I think on this concept. I mean, I know that you get those messages. Like I sent you a voicemail yesterday. Like the way that you interview, Jeff, is unique. And like I make it my business to listen to lots of shows, and like your genuine curiosity that you just roll with. Yeah. It's unique in the space. Like getting guys like Clark Bartram to openly weep on your show. It's like,
do you know in the last 30 today at Jeff Spencer, we had him weeping. We say we had him, but he shed tears probably about 4 or 5 times in the show. So I went through a streak of 7 episodes in a row where somebody cried. And this is nothing to me playing in with that's pure curiosity. Like I know nothing. I try to know nothing about the guests before I get them on. And I mean, obviously through social media, you'll have an overview or somewhat of an understanding, but I never get to it. Then I just let the story flow. Yeah. And to me, it's that curiosity, that engagement of just wanting to learn about something, having an open conversation. When I'm done that hour or 45 minutes or half or whatever it is, I want to know who you are. I want to be able to have that interaction where it's like, you know what, I could talk to you now. And I think as long as you're genuine and authentic about it, it comes across to your guest, which is very, very powerful. Everybody I've ever had on, like I have relationships with after, and it just builds relationships, right?
I think you need to have like a weepometer or something like how many, he's got another weep streak going, grown men crying on Jeff's show. And just like, or maybe like you have like a clock for how fast you made somebody cry. Like you need to set some PRs here. Like we're weightlifting guys. How do we PR making men cry? That's some stats.
People are going to hear that now. Everybody's going to hold their cheers back after this episode.
I won't be the next weeper on Jeff's show. Oh, man. You have that Instagram post. It could be like the cry highlight reel. Everybody just crying, ugly crying on Jeff's show. You may have to rebrand. Picture ugly crying show. Men crying ugly.
Picture having a little segue of just like flashes, put some sad music in the background, as all my guys crying in a row.
You get some of that, like
that would really, really.
You got to get the Sarah McLachlan song that they play for all like the Feed the Children, you know what I'm saying? And you have like Clark Bartram, like, oh, I'm getting emotional here, man. Like you have that. Yeah. Eyes of the Angels. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, it is Eyes of the Angels.
You see McLachlan going, maybe that's how you ignite the crying. Like you
start playing it slowly in the background.
Have it ready. Yeah, they start weeping and you start getting a little McLachlan going, and it's just like ugly cry.
All your guests, is there 1 or 2 moments that are just like, wow, you just have that connection where it's just like, that was awesome?
Yeah, man. Like it happens a lot. If somebody, for me, and you do the same thing. It's like I interview people that I'm genuinely interested in.
Yeah.
Like I interviewed a dude named Manny Cabo last week, and Manny was on The Voice. He got 4 chair turns. He's a voice artist. Now he's obviously a singer, but we talked about like monetizing your voice as a podcaster.
Yeah.
This dude got 4 chair turns from Pharrell, Adam Levine, Gwen Stefani, Blake Shelton. Yeah. And we talked about that. I'm just nerding out. And he started singing like Daughtry songs and stuff. I'm like, this is awesome. Just genuinely interested and entertained by this and curious. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, but yeah, like we people like you and me, we're good at making friends. We're curious. So podcasting is just natural to us, and we can, create good content because we're just kind of broing out or whatever. And just going through the nooks and crannies of everybody's stories. And I find like, I'm not going to interview somebody that I'm not interested in. Like I get those emails of like, dear podcaster, I've got a great guest for you. He is a supersonic dentist from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I'm just like, and the fuck is this about? Like, you didn't even know my name. You just said, hey, hello, podcaster.
They're so generic. I get those. I literally get those all the time. All the time. So I'm going to throw it back somewhere else. How long have you been married for?
13 years.
13 years. What does your wife mean to you? And is she self-employed? Is she opposite from you? Is she 9 to 5? Like,
she's a physical therapist. So she's, but just like she grounds me. I'm Mr. High energy. I'm like your dog when you come home. You know what I'm saying? Like my tail is always wagging. I'm like, oh, let's interact. And that's how I am all the time, everywhere.
Yeah.
And she grounds me. Like she keeps things calm. She runs the ship at home. Like I'm very involved as a dad. Like I'm cooking meals. I'm
me too.
Dropping off. I'm picking up, like reading bedtime stories. That's all very important. But she's like the home base boss of like, let's run this through mom before we make this decision as a family. But she's like the smartest person I've ever met. She's so intelligent at what she does. She's an amazing healer. Being in the weightlifting game, I hurt myself more often than I'd like to admit. And that's actually how we met. We met at the gym. I know you're going to ask me this question because I listened to your show. And do you know what Graston therapy is, Jeff?
No.
So it's like the ceramic boomerang butter knife thing. And
you
scrape. It's also called a stem.
It's painful.
They scrape the scar tissue. They push it down. That is how we met. I tore my groin doing deadlifts, and she was doing Graston on my groin. I'm 300 pounds, sweating my ass off. I'm trying to think about how I'm going to ask this girl out who's scraping my groin. And I asked her out to see Napoleon Dynamite with me and my sister. It wasn't even solo. You know how when you go to the doctor, there's all sorts of pictures of them with everybody around. And there's all these pictures of her with men all over her office. And I couldn't tell if they were athletes that she like patients or like boyfriend. So I'm like, let's play it safe. So she comes and watches Napoleon Dynamite with me and my sister. And I told,
such a random movie.
I told my sister, I was like, I'm going to get up and go to the bathroom at some point. You find out if she's dating anybody. And we had a signal of like the all clear. And so then I got the all clear when I came back. And afterwards, my sister kind of buzzed off, and I asked her, I was like, I want you to come over. I want to make you dinner and have like a real date. And that's where it all started, man. I asked her to marry me on her 30th birthday. I bought her a new dress, and I had the dress just laying out after she got home from work. I said, put this on. I had a little note, be ready. I had a limo pick her up and bring her out to our lake. And one of my clients had a pretty sweet like yacht situation. And I made her dinner out on the yacht. I wasn't allowed to drive it. I had to keep it in the dock. That was a big part of the deal. And proposed it at sunset, and it was pretty darn cool.
I love it. I've been married for 18 years. I don't know if we talked about it when I was on your side, but 18 years. And the exact same thing. My wife is I'm a very, very interactive dad, always with my kids, but my wife's the grounder of the family. Like she is I don't know if we talked about it in your podcast, but we've been married, like I said, 18 years. We don't even have a bank account together.
We don't either.
Love it.
So similar, man. So many similarities with the way our brains work. Yeah.
And
it works, right? Like it works.
Never argued about money. She has her bills. I got my bills. Never argued about money. And she needs to have her stability. She needs to have her, she's very independent. She needs her 9 to 5. She would never work for me. She told me that a million times. She would never work for me from day one. When we got married, first thing she said is, I just want you to understand, I was always self-employed. She goes, I'm never going to work for you. And I was I took that to heart, and I appreciate her independence. And she is the type where, to her, she always has a saying where, if today didn't change, it was a good day. She's so simple, and she likes having a simplicity in life. And it's just about family, building memories, and let things fall where they fall. Yep. And don't stress out. I mean, she forced me, which the movie came out after, and I really fucking hate it, but she forced me to get a tattoo, and it says, let it go. And she would always say this every time I would come home stressed out with business. She'd look at me, she'd like, take a deep breath, let it go. Can't control it, let it go. Let it go. She'd say this. And then eventually she's like, you're getting that tattoo on your wrist because I want you to look at your wrist every time. And then what happens? Walt Disney decides to come out with a movie, and their leading song is let it go, let it go. And yeah, so I had to put my other saying on my other wrist saying relentless.
Oh, I thought I was going to say into the unknown. He's got a real Frozen tattoo fetish, this guy. Anna and Elsa. Dude, I sing that shit every day in the car. That's what my daughter's all about. Like,
seriously.
The snow goes bright on the mountain tonight, not a footprint to be seen. Like, I know the whole song, man. And I'm not a good singer, which is surprising because people hear my voice like, oh, you must be a great singer. No, terrible. But I know all the words to Frozen. Let it go, 100%.
Your voice, you do have a very distinct voice. Did you practice that, or it just came natural?
Genetic, man. My dad's a pharmacist, Big Mike, 6'7", 275. And when I was 13, like, my dad's an old school pharmacist where it's a dying breed. Like, people don't have a pharmacist anymore. They just go to the pharmacy. You know?
Yeah.
But Big Mike was their pharmacist. They would call our house to get like prescription updates and stuff. So I got grown ass men trying to get their Viagra renewed. And I'm answering the phone. I'm 12. I'm like, no, bro, this is Adam. This is not Mike. And they're like, shut up, Mike. Cause he's like me, likes to joke around. I'm like, I can't get you any Viagra, man. Like, you gotta talk to my dad. So it's always been there. 7th grade choir. I wasn't allowed to sing because it sounded so different from everybody else. And I kind of suck at singing. They made me lip sync whenever we would go until we did the Crash Test Dummies song came out. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? That one, like that was, we do that one. I'm the star of the damn show. Otherwise, like, can we get some Barry White in or something? I don't know. Like a little, one of my podcasting friends, fellow Canadian.
So if you had this voice prior, you ever thought of getting onto radio even before the podcasting world? No, man. Okay.
I didn't even realize it was that powerful until I got in the podcasting space, and I spoke on stage at an event in California called New Media Summit. Yeah. And I got on, and it was like, it had pretty robust mic system. I got on there, and it was like, the women went nuts, man. Like, it was a little uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm a married man, and I had women, like, it was a lot of like, woo, and like that thing. And I was like, what just happened? And then the main guy was like, I think we just need to have Adam talk. And then they went nuts. I had people like, can you be a voice of a video game character? And like, all this shit started to happen. And I'm like, I just want to podcast, man. Like, it is what it is. I'm not a voice actor. There are way better people for that than me. But I'll use it as a weapon to stand out. And like on Clubhouse, I tear it up. I use it all the time. People remember that voice, and they'll come and follow my account because of that.
I love it. I always ask this. There's 2 questions I always ask at the end. First, and I said right now, and that because you have it locked in my head. If you said don't, say
don't do
say it. So superpower. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Really good at making friends, man. Like, I am not good at selling things. I'm not great at marketing. I'm really good at letting other people plug into me, borrow my energy and my personal momentum until they build up their own. I did that with weight loss. I do it with podcasting. I do it with business. I'm like, just plug in. I got plenty. You know, I'm that power source. Let's build up your own mojo until, you're good to go. And so that's definitely my superpower.
Love it. If something were to happen to you today, in a few words, how would you want to be remembered or described by your loved ones?
Present. Like, I can deal with audience members, fans, employees going, where's Adam? Or he's inconsistent, or or whatever. Like I'm not like that, but I if they were to say those things, that's not going to bother me. If my kids are going, "Where's dad?" That bothers me.
Yeah. Good.
So just them saying he was there, he was present, he was willing to interact, he was willing to teach, he was willing to be open and love openly. Like I tell my kids, my family, I'm all over them. I'm hugging them and kissing them, picking them up. Like they're like, God, get off me. My daughter's like, space, daddy, space. And I'm just that guy. Like I will tell them I love them 100 times a day, as much as they'll let me say it.
I'm the exact same way, man. I love it. I love it. That's me in a nutshell. So this is awesome. Anything you want to leave our audience with?
I love interaction. Like I said, if you are somebody that's in the podcasting space, or if you're a little pod curious, I'd love to interact. Hit me up on Instagram, Podcasting Business School. I answer every single message. I answer every single email. If you DM me on Instagram, I'll probably voice DM you back. I like to prove to people that I'm not a bot. That's very important to me. I'm like, so I get those like, hey, fella, great that you followed my account. So I'll drop a voice DM like, thank you for following my account. I appreciate you. I'll say your name. I'll say what day it is. I'll say what time it is. I'm like, I'm out to prove I'm not a bot. I would love to interact. So anybody that's out there, I would love to interact. I've got a quick challenge. Can I give your audience a challenge, Jeff?
100%, buddy.
All right. I've been in the podcasting game since 2015, 600 plus episodes. I know that podcast listeners, they love to be entertained, but it could be a passive thing. So my challenge, I call it my 24-hour implementation alarm challenge. If you're listening on your phone, I want you to set your alarm for 24 hours from now. And if Jeff and I discussed anything that you felt like you need to take action on, I want you to knock over the first domino within the next 24 hours before that alarm goes off. Don't wait. Don't just go to the next episode. Take action, because we're learning. We talk about sharpening the saw, sharpening the axe, but a sharp axe is no good if we never swing it. I want you to swing the damn axe in the next 24 hours. You don't have to solve everything. You don't have to do your whole idea, but if you had one idea that you want to start working on it in the next 24 hours, and then hit me up on Instagram. Let me know how it went.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. On all those show notes, I'm going to put all the info, how to get a hold of Adam, how to follow him, how to listen to his podcast, to his educational platforms, all that stuff. So appreciate you, brother. This has been fun. I've had quite a big smile on my face over the last two conversations. I know this is going to be a long-term relationship. So, and we have a lot of things in common, including separate bank accounts, which is very important.
You're stuck with me as a pod pal now, Jeff. So, that's just how it is, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody for listening in, and just wait to see what adventures me and Jeff get into next.
Love it, brother. Thank you. That's a wrap for today. I want to thank our guest, Adam, for taking time out of his incredibly busy schedule to be a guest on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. Great conversation, tons of fun, tons of value, like all weeks. If you guys enjoy this podcast as much as I have, please tell your friends, spread the word, tell your family. We're trying to build something incredibly special here. Leave a review. 5 stars would be absolutely amazing. We love spending time with the staff, looking at all the reviews and answering any questions back. Until next week, guys, keep moving forward.